Alright, my video keeps being interrupted. We gotta get back on track. Hey guys, it's Steph, and today I'm doing a drugstore makeup starter kit, and I've been wanting to do this video for a really long time, but I just haven't for some reason, and it's back to school time, which means a lot of people are starting to get into makeup or like want to start fresh and buy a bunch of makeup. I like to watch these even now that I already have a makeup collection started, but this is just good to get you started or find out about new products that you might not have heard about. So I have every single category, and in my opinion you need to prioritize, think of like what you need over what you want. So I'll tell you things that are probably optional when you're first starting out with makeup, because I'm not suggesting you go out on one shopping trip, buy all of this. You need to buy a few things at a time. So I'm just going through every category and telling you my favorite drugstore options for that specific makeup product. Before I get started, I want to apologize for my hair, and I never ever apologize for my appearance in my videos because I think that's annoying when other people do it, but I feel like a 4-year-old because my hair is like tied back in like this twist and I just don't even know what's going on. And after this video I'm going to shower and like wash my hair and just get rid of this whatever's going on here. So yeah, don't mind me. First and only time I'm ever going to be apologizing for my appearance. I'm not including any skincare products because everyone's face is different, but after that we're going to go straight to a primer, and this I think you can skip out on for a while until you have some extra money and your makeup collection's already started. But if you really want to get a primer, I would suggest a primer from NYX. That's really the only drugstore primer that I know of that is any good. I've never even tried a primer from the drugstore, but I have heard good things about that one, and so I would suggest that. But primer, especially face primer, is one of those things where I would say splurge, but if you want a drugstore one, the NYX one is the way to go. Next, moving on to foundation, I'm going to show you guys two foundations that I think are really good to start out with. And the first one is one that I actually started out with when I began my makeup collection, so it was the first foundation I ever had. I've repurchased this 2 or 3 times now, and it's the Maybelline Dream Smooth Mousse Foundation, and this is actually a cream product. It looks like this, so it's somewhere in between a powder and a liquid, and I do have dry skin, but it wasn't as bad when I was starting out with makeup back in 9th, like 8th going into 9th grade, and I actually still use it to this day. I'm wearing it right now. What I like about this product is that it's really easy to apply. It's not like a whole ton of liquid on your face. It feels really natural. The coverage of this is buildable, so you could start off small. I used this as a concealer at one point, brought it into a foundation slowly. Now I put more coverage of it on my face, but I still use it as a lesser coverage foundation, so if you need less coverage, this is the foundation for you. I would definitely suggest this to someone who's just starting out with makeup or who's in middle school or something like that. The next foundation is one that I'm personally not the biggest fan of, but I think this is perfect if you're starting out with makeup. It's the Maybelline FIT Me Foundation. But this I think is just easy to handle. You can just put it on with your fingers, get a little bit of coverage, it's buildable, and it's just easy to use as a whole. I just suggested this to my cousin who's going into 8th grade and trying to build her makeup collection. Now moving right on into concealer, I have 3 drugstore concealers that I'm all absolutely in love with. The first one being the Maybelline Dream Lumi Touch Concealer, and if you've been on YouTube for about a year now, you've probably heard about this. It's a really glowy highlighting concealer, really good for your under eyes. Also, the Maybelline FIT Me is a great one as well. This has more coverage than the Lumi Touch, but they're both perfect. And you guys are going to think I'm a really weird like Maybelline hoarder, because as you go through this video you'll realize that there's a lot of Maybelline in here, but I can't help it. I just love Maybelline. And this is what I would suggest for blemishes from the drugstore. It's the Covergirl Aqua Smoothers, and it's just a stick concealer. It's really heavy duty, it's good for pimples, and it stays on a really long time. Next is powders, and unfortunately I have dry skin, so I'm not the biggest wearer of powders, so you might want to check out a different video if you want to look more into powder. And I know that when you're starting out with makeup you're probably going to want to use a powder instead of a foundation, but I don't use powder. I have 2 translucent powders I want to talk about, and this is good for setting your makeup. Not as good for getting any kind of coverage, but I'm just going to quickly mention these even if you aren't looking for a translucent coverage just yet. The first one is the e.l.f. Complexion Perfection powder, and this is a really good powder just to set any concealer, leave it in place all day at school. I think this is important because it leaves everything in place instead of getting a setting spray, or even if you don't have a primer yet, this is something good that you can use to keep your makeup lasting. And another one I really like is the NYC Mosaic Color Wheel, and this is just the translucent one. They also have real powders like that will give you coverage, so you can look into those. Now on to bronzer. This is my NYC Sunny Bronzer, and chances are you've heard about this on YouTube. It's about $2 to $3. It's just your basic bronzer. There's no shimmers, which is good because you don't want a shimmery, like, all over the face look when you're first starting out with makeup. Another inexpensive bronzer is from the e.l.f. Contouring Blush and Bronzing Duo. It's a little more dark and muddy, but I can use it in very small doses, so, and I'm like the palest person in the history of the planet. So if you do have lighter skin, this still can work on you, and it's something good to start out with for maybe practicing a contour or something like that. Now on to blushes. I have two from NYX, and one is their typical powder blush. They look like this in this like quilted package. I really like the packaging of these blushes. I only have one of these, but I know that these get like raved about. And the color I have is in Terracotta, which is actually a good color if you're starting out with makeup because it's more of a skin toned color, so it'll be an easy way to transition into blush without having like a huge like pink cheek. These are pretty inexpensive. What's even cheaper than that are the NYX Cream Blushes, which are good if you have dry skin, and they're just good to start with. You can practice building up the amount of blush you want. These are really pigmented, so be careful with these. This color is in Boho Chic, and it's the one that I would probably suggest first to someone starting out with makeup. It's a really light baby pink. And lastly are the e.l.f. blushes. This one is in Mellow Mauve. They have some really nice tame pink colors, but I don't have any of those. So Mellow Mauve would be the one that I would suggest just because it's a very natural color. What I like about these is that they're $3 and they're super pigmented, really high quality. Now moving on to eyes, and the first category of eyes is eye primer. And eye primer, just like face primer, is a thing where an investment in high-end is probably best for you. But there is one drugstore price primer that I would suggest, and it's the $1 e.l.f. Eyelid Primer. It is crazy inexpensive. Not as good as Urban Decay or Too Faced, but I do think that the primer is good when you're starting out. And now I'm going to move right into bases, which can also take the form of a primer. So the first base that I want to talk about is the Maybelline Color Tattoos. These are awesome. This color in particular, which is from a limited edition collection, it's in Barely Beige, but they do have Barely Branded, I believe. So they're basically the same exact color. It's just a shimmery champagne base, and I use this under a lot of eyeshadow looks. Especially good for the fall, and it's good if you are in a rush or in middle school and you don't want to do a whole like depthy eyeshadow look, so you can quickly just put that on your eyelid and be out the door. Another really convenient product that you could throw in your bag and touch up at school or anything like that are the NYX Jumbo Eyeshadow Pencils, and I'm going to suggest two colors to you. One is one that I use literally all the time. It's the one in Milk, which is just the matte white. I use that in the inner corner really often. You could also use it on the waterline because it brightens your eyes and it's good for school time because it keeps you more awake. Another color is Yogurt, which is one that I'd put in the inner corner as well, or all over the lid. It's just like a champagne base. So these two are both really good, and they're also really inexpensive. Now going into actual eyeshadow, I have a ton of high-end shadows. So a lot of them I can't show you, like all of my favorites are from the Naked palette, but there are two that I wanted to talk about. One being Wet n Wild palettes. These are so ridiculously inexpensive. I wouldn't necessarily suggest this exact palette to you because it's a little bit darker. I bought it for fall. It's in the color Knock on Wood, if anyone's wondering. It's like a mix of cranberry shades, but there are some. I think Walking on Eggshells is the name of one that's really natural. Other eyeshadows that I like are CoverGirl eyeshadows. This in particular, the Shimmering Sands palette. I'm wearing some colors from it on my eyes right now. It's super neutral. You could do a ton of different looks, like on the lighter to darker scale. You just get these three shimmery neutrals, and I really think this can come in handy. This is also super inexpensive. Now onto eyeliner. I don't use a ton of pencil liner, but one that I really do like are the NYX Slide On eyeliner pencils. I think that's what they're called. I don't have one physically with me because I didn't get it and I forgot to bring it over here and I don't feel like getting back up. but that's a really good eyeliner. And then in terms of liquid eyeliner, I really like the NYC Liquid Liner and the Maybelline Line Stiletto. The NYC I started doing winged liner with, and this is really what taught me, and I thought it was like the easiest thing ever, and I learned with this. And then when I bought the Maybelline Line Stiletto, I was like, wow, how did I ever use the other one, because this is so much easier. So if you're a beginner, I'd suggest the Maybelline one, but if you're looking for a more inexpensive one, I'd suggest the NYC one, because this one's like $2 to $3, this is like $9, so really depends. To mascara, there's a ton of drugstore mascaras that you can find that are amazing. I do prefer most drugstore mascaras over high-end. My main concern is more volume, so I really like the Maybelline Volume Express Rocket Volume mascara. Honestly, in the drugstore, there's really no misses with mascara. I think that's something that's trial and error just to find out what you want in a mascara, but there's a ton of good drugstore mascaras out there. Now moving on to lips, which is my favorite section because I love lipsticks and lip glosses and just doing lip colors. So I have some lipsticks, some lip glosses, and some lip balms to talk about with you. And I have a ton of lipsticks. Revlon is an amazing brand for lip products, so there's 3 lines of their lipstick products that I want to talk about. First one being their super lustrous lipsticks, the Color Burst lipsticks. They come in this quilted packaging, which is awesome. And this one's a red, so I wouldn't suggest it if you're starting out with makeup, but a more neutral color from that line is perfect. Also, the Revlon lip butters, which you've probably heard about, really good for people starting out with makeup if you want that lipstick look without having an actual lipstick on. These are really easy and quick to apply. They're moisturizing. I really like these. And then moving on to lip glosses, this is also something, I don't have a ton of drugstore lip glosses, but the Revlon Color Burst lip glosses are amazing. Love these. Also, in terms of lip balms, there's a ton out there, and I've tried basically all of them. Baby Lips, Nivea Lip Butters, Nivea Kiss of Moisture chapstick, Burt's Bees. There's so many that you could buy. It's really all on preference for chapsticks and lip balms, but hopefully you find what you like, and hopefully this was helpful. Good luck on expanding your makeup collection, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye!